switched my laptop onto my phone. The Radisson apparently doesn't have very good internet. So I just my phone is doing better than the Wi-Fi.
There you go.
Anyway, by above. So we said Nashim Harbe and Nashim Harbe in Chayshim Yichud, right? A lot about it. Now, on the other hand, what if the men are inside and the women are outside? Or the women are outside, or vice versa, and one of the men goes to where the women are, or one of the women goes to where the men are. Now you have a yichud problem. Meaning, if you're in shul, a man going into the Viber shul is a problem of yichud. One is here, one is there. Bifnim and bachutz means they're in two separate areas. Right.
Well, it's very interesting because you just reminded me of something else I was teaching today, which is about Bechlal, when let's say a couple or whatever, if you're in a room, married couple are sleeping in a room, if you're sleeping in a room that has Svarim, has Davar Shebektusha. So one of the ways to get around it, if you don't have double coverings, it has to be double covered, right? So what are you going to put 2 sheets covering the whole bookshelf, or there's many bookshelves or whatever? You could put up a mechitza. Now the mechitza doesn't even have to be all the way up to the ceiling. This mechitza, different than a shul mechitza, because what you're doing is you're establishing 2 separate rooms, so to speak. So you can flip a mattress. A mattress is 10 tvachim by 3 tvachim. You could put a mattress on its side at the foot of the bed, and even though you could see the svarim over the mattress, it's still 2 separate spaces, and that's enough. So, but the problem is that you can't be building walls on Shabbos. Shabbos Yom Tov, you can't be doing boina. So that's problematic. That's where you need to just do sheets or whatever, because you can't be building walls. You can't be building new rooms, as we learned in Hilchos Shabbos. I remember finding it so fascinating that it was brought up in Hilchos Shabbos, something that, like, I think as a chassid, I don't, as a married man, I don't think I even really knew about, because I always
what to do if it's
double covered everything. What
if if it's not a davar shel kayim? Then only by oil would be a problem. No,
I think it's still considered boina. I mean, just because you're doing it temporarily, if it's a real structure, if it stands on its own, it still could be
that's the thing. It's not a fixed. In the other case, like the cases of the windows, you're affixing something to the window. You're not actually putting it's
I mean, some of these folding mechitzas could stand. I don't remember the halachas right now off the top of my head, but I do remember, like, a difference was, for example, one of these like folding room dividers was fine. It's fine to maybe fold and unfold, but the moment you drape a blanket over that and you're creating more of a structure.
That's oil. But that's because
then, like you said, that's oil.
And oil you can't do even
temporarily.
So maybe a mattress would be okay. I think a mattress might be okay, Taco. The problem is you can't break anything.
You know what? I'm going to look it up quickly. Let's just. So the problem is so you're right in the sense that maybe if you're not, unless it's, the problem is that it's again, it becomes the function, because you're using this mattress to separate the rooms. That's making it a mechitza materes.
The problem is the mattress
because it's actively separating the room.
Right.
Now that's a real wall you're building.
You're right. You're not allowed to create a new domain, a new thing.
So that's why it's usher, even just. Yeah, even just even if it wasn't something as strong as a mattress.
If you prop up a mattress, it's not a problem. But when you're propping it up and now you're creating, not only that, it's when you're creating a halachic spaces, like a sukkah, or in this case, you're creating a mechitza. You're halachically creating 2 rooms.
Right. So just to take that further, and it also brings out mechitza of davening. But it also goes the other way, meaning, if you're setting up a place so that a married couple could be in the room with holy stuff, or so that you can daven, and because there's something else, there's dirty diapers, or the baby's changing, or whatever it is. Even a sheet, it doesn't even have to be something strong like a mattress. Hanging the sheet up where it's becoming a wall is a problem. Even a sheet. Now, if the sheet, if you're putting it on the bookshelf and then you're using two sheets, you'd have to use two because you have to do a double covering. That's different. You're not using it as a wall. You're using it to be a covering. But whatever you use, even if it's something as flimsy as a sheet, if you're doing the wall, this mechitza materes, it's a problem. So then comes up the question of taka. Okay, so then what about a mechitza? What about between men and women in order to daven? So most poskim hold that actually would be okay because it's not a mechitza materes, because you're not for men and women to daven in the same, they don't have to be in separate rooms.
It's just right. It just has to be a separation.
You don't need to make a separate room. You need to make something that blocks them so they don't be seen, which all the more so is why halachically, especially as Lubavitch, as we know this, 3.5 foot tall, even though it's over 10 sfachim or whatever, is not a good mechitza because it doesn't matter about them being in a separate room. The whole point is you can't be seeing each other.
The whole point is vision. Yeah.
So even if it's 6 feet tall, if everyone's 6.5, it doesn't matter. You need it to be that you don't see each other. It's not about making separate rooms, which is why on Shabbos you could hang up a sheet and you can pull the curtain or unfold the room divider. But if you're using the room divider or a sheet or anything to actually make two separate rooms, that would be a problem on Shabbos. So here again, like if you're, the separate rooms, then it's okay. It's
very interesting because that's one of those cases where intent makes a difference.
Right, pun intended, tent, because oil. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, intent. Well, I would say less intent and more like the usage, the function, what it's being used as.
What was the intent of the tent?
It's part of it.
No, but what do you mean? What it's being used as has to do with your intent,
right? But I guess what I'm saying is I think it's more about the actual physical use than it is about what I had in mind.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what I had in mind. It's being used to separate
but
the rooms.
It also has to do with what you're using it as, which is really what you it's what you decide.
Even though physically, I think what you're saying is, even though physically these two things could look exactly the same, you hung up a sheet either way, but where one you're using it just to block sight, and the other one you're trying to split the room, and in that, yeah. Okay, so for yichud, it's very interesting. So like again, I always think of when it comes to this stuff. The boxes that we used to use by the oil, not us, but Kohanim used to use by the oil, so they could go through a cemetery before they put up the fences and whatnot to walk to the Rebbe's oil. These little boxes, and when it was Yud Shvat and Gimel Tammuz and there were shortages, you'd have people holding like linking arms around them, so they could, But can I have a mini one? Of course, I couldn't use it on Shabbos Yom Tov, but I'll have a mini one that's 10 by 3, and then that's my wall. I'll never have yichud again. It'll be a pop-up yichud protector. Wherever I am, just pop it up. There we go.
Like you pull a ripcord and your yichud box pops open.
The inflatable, yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Inflatable yichud boxes. So now, why 3 and 3? Where do we get three men and 3 women? So the Magid Mishnah, this is Sifkat and Tess in Mechelkes Mechekik. Noshim harbe im anoshim harbe. Magid Mishnah, Perikov Beis. What's this halach is? I've seen this a whole bunch of times here. I have to look it up to find out what this halach is. Let me see. It's mem. It's also the Rambam. It's on the same thing, but
Mishnah Brura.
It's from Hilchos Aleph.
Solid. Sorry, where are you? Sorry, I'm on the side with you now.
And the second line of the Sifkat and Tess. We had it before too.
Mishnah Perich of Beis Mehilchas Yisur Bia.
There we go. That's the one.
In the one they sent in the PDF they sent us, our
Oh,
Rebbe sent
no,
it. It has
right.
it
So
written
it's
down.
also in the Rambam, the same ones, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because of
That's the
these
Surah.
that he wrote that this halacha yaitze, and where do we get this? How do we know this? It comes mehod amrinon from that we say gabi chasan about a chasan, a groom who yashin bein ha'anoshim v'hi yeshena bein ha'anoshim, that he's sleeping among the men and she sleeps amongst the women. Mashma, so it implies it implies two men besides for the chazan, ushtei noshim levad hakala, and two women besides for the kala. It's talking about in one house, same house. Anyway, uve'emes kiraya zeis chalushahi. The truth is, this is a very
Weak,
this
bro.
This is how we
The
talk
stuff's
about
weak.
Yeah, weak, man. Yeah, it's a very weak proof. Why? Because in such a scenario, especially back then, by a chasna or something, right? Who's the men and who's the women? At least some of them are married or whatever. So you have married people there.
Right.
There's no problem.
Right.
Then furthermore, a chasna lakala in ish v'ishtei. The chasna and kala, who is who they themselves are a man and his wife. They themselves are guard other people from yichud because there's a man and his wife there. No, I skipped a line. Even though we differentiate between a kala and another woman, but still, from where do you have it to differentiate to the point where you can learn a kula out of this? You can learn a leniency from this. The eight, and furthermore, Harash Mefarish, that the Rosh explains the Hu Yoshin Bein Hanoshim. It's either he's sleeping amongst the men or she's sleeping amongst the women. Furthermore, we have to be particular about the words of the poskim that hold that your average person is a kasha. And even one woman with two men is allowed if they're kshedim, right? Like the Ramah said before. This is going according to like what the Ramah said. But with loose people, on the other hand, even 10 is no good. Like he just spoke about before this in the last sif. So it's questionable. What if there's a lot of women and a lot of loose men? Is that still allowed? Or maybe since they are loose, even many men and many women, it doesn't help.
Right, everyone's there for an orgy.
Yeah, and this seems to be the svara that would make sense.
That's a group. It's a group activity, Like that's.
Yeah, it's a very loose. Yeah, that's a very loose argument.
I always remember the story.
Yeah.
So I would just say I always remember the story Saita brings up very early on, about when they're talking about this, how many people need to escort her, and where you find this balance, of like, okay, there's a difference in kosher, not kosher, whatever. Yeah, you're right. Taka, there's a story of it was a group of 10 guys and they pretended she was dead so they could carry her out to the woods and have a party. Yeah, these things could happen. But like
but it's not your average
yeah, it's not
your average thing. Let's see. So he said that it's fine if there's as long as there's 3 and 3 or more, right? He says Nashim Hadbim, Nashim Hadbim, unless if they're inside and they're outside or vice versa, right? And one woman separates from them and goes between the men. The Das Rashi, according to Rashi, Osur af beloy pirsha. The Chayshinon Shema Tikon is v'lo yagishu.
Wait, so what's that mean? You have a whole bunch of men inside, and the women are outside.
So meaning
So,
according to Rashi, even we're worried about it might happen even unintentionally.
so what's usher? To have that, you should never have it that all the men are inside and the women are outside.
I guess so.
What does that mean?
I'm not really sure. Let me see. Let's see if we can find this.
Yeah. Kiddushin again. Pay Aleph Amid Aleph.
Yeah, it's all this. I'm telling you, with the if for this simon, it's kedai.
Just learn that lots. Those two blot balpeh with all the versions in there. Sorry, skip that a little bit. Sorry about that.
Let me see if he says it here. Anything about it? Yeah, it seems like the Bach holds the same thing.
The men are outside, the outer room, the women are in the inner room. You don't have to worry about yichud. Even if one of the men were to enter the inner room, he would be seen by the other men. And if there were men on the inside and women on the outside, there's concern. Okay, hold on. So this is what it is. This is why, because it's not talking about outside, inside a house. It's outer room, inner room. So like to get to the inner room, you have to go through the outer room. Yeah. So Rav Kahana is saying that when the women are in the inner room, when the men are in the outer room and the women are in the inner room, you don't have to worry about it because the men are not going through the women to get to the men's section.
Right.
They're not going past the women to get to the men's section. And if he would, he'd be seen by the other men. Any guy who's going to go in and out of the women room,
right,
as that's Nashim, is going to be seen by the men. So the men are going to stop, are enough to be a barrier. But if it was the opposite, if the men were on the inside, the women on the outside, so let's say, you have like a house minion, and there's like, the den, the office, the library is in the inner room. To get through it, you have to go through the living room. Yeah. And all the ladies are out in the living room.
I hate to tell you, I was in a shul in Crown Heights. Well, the truth is they have another entrance. Then nobody told me that. Meaning there's 2 ways to get in.
But Lamaisa, the problem still stands.
They told me go through here, and I ended up. I'm like,
right.
All of a sudden I realized I'm in the Viber show because I was like, I'm going.
The problem still stands. I was at a home minion in New Jersey. I don't want to say exactly where in case it goes in Lashon Hara, because it's in the town it's in. There aren't as many minyanim as Crown Heights. So, but anyway, it was a Chassidish minion. It was a very nice minion. But I asked where's the bathroom, and it said go through the kitchen. Now I see the door's open. That door up the stairs from like the garage basement, up to the kitchen is open, and people are coming and going. But it's Tom. I went up to go to the bathroom, and then it's just there's the wife or like a couple of ladies hanging out with the kids or whatever. And easily someone could say, I'm just going to the bathroom. And no one would think twice. And he's there for a while. Okay, you must have had a heavy cholent. No one would, there's no the point is that I guess you can't rely on the men. Now, there are other factors to yichud. Someone could come in, the husband's in town, etc., etc. But the factor of where the men are the guys are the one being that protective barrier because they're watching, that does not apply here because they wouldn't necessarily think twice about it. I think that's the nukudah being said here. The other things that undo yichud, they could apply. But this specific thing of men catching it, like men seeing, it wouldn't apply because you wouldn't know. He might be leaving, he might be going to the bathroom, and interesting, very interesting. Okay, fine. So that was you still there? Holy Rav Mendel, are you still there? You there? Okay, okay.
Yeah, we're having a competition. What's worse, my
Phone or laptop?
my bars on the turnpike, or the Wi-Fi on the turnpike.
Hashem.
Yeah. So,
Rabbi Shmuel, you know.
yeah. So Yudav, I feel you should ask him. Well, let's. I think the Beis Shmuel. Let's look at that. The Beis Shmuel says on the same thing. Pirsha Ishachas one woman separates and goes into the men. Hainu Rambam. This is according to the Rambam. And Aili b'stam anoshim b'ksherim. Let's talk about stam people, regular people, rather regular kosher people. Ulaharash. Aili b'prutzim. According to the Rosh, it's talking about loose people that you have to worry about them doing such a thing. Verashi.
Meaning regular people's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah.
And so the Rambam is more machmir than Rosh.
Yeah, because the Rambam says it's holding about regular people, even regular people. Right. And whereas the Rosh holds no, it's only talking about prutzim. But if it's regular people, not a problem. Virashi, the matir ish echadim nashim harbi. Right, Rashi, he allows one man with if it's with many women, right? So then what's it talking about?
Right.
So you have to say the Airi Khan, he's talking here, but Anoshim Diskeya Mimanoshim. So he's talking about the men who work in a woman involved thing, and that's why it's a problem.
Again, that means Rashi does not hold like the Rambam, who says that would be helpful.
Like he holds this like a gynecologist convention or something like that.
Right. And it means Bechlal, though, he holds that men who work with men is worse.
Yeah.
Not better than like the Rambam, who says afilu. Right. Like
the Rambam says they're better.
Right.
So according to Rashi, we can say that that's what he's talking about here.
The Bach.
Yeah. And the Bach writes, the Bach writes, when they're in two rooms, it's not allowed. Why? Because we worry maybe one of them will go behechber, right? So we'll sneak into the room that the women are sitting. Right, so he holds that remember. So Rashi holds it's a whole different thing, because Rashi holds that it's that one man goes into where there's a bunch of women. What's the problem? It's a man who's comfortable with women, and therefore he holds the problem. The Rosh, the Bach, on the other hand, says, right, that when that no, it's we're worried about that maybe one of them will go and sneak into the room where all the women are. Got it. In other words, he's going to sneak in. What we're talking about is he's going to sneak in, and other women don't. He snuck in. It's right. It's the sleeping rooms.
Ooh,
so he's sneaking in, and it's dark, and it's we're worried about that they won't notice.
He didn't sneak into the parlor where everyone's sitting in Pfeffer, and he snuck into the dorm.
Yeah, they're talking the dormitory here, right? He snuck into the girls' dormitory. Right, and therefore it's possible he could sneak in, and other women won't notice him. Whereas when he's secluded with them, but they know he's there, then then they guard each other, they watch each other. And this, according to the sheet of Rashi, you can make this differentiation. However, the Rambam and the Torah, the Mechaber, they wrote, one woman separated from them. Mashma afilu im yodua, the Pirish Echad ben Anoshim. So it's mashma that even if they know, mikol makim asur. Right. So according to what the Bach says. The Bach says, according to Rashi works, that one guy sneaks in, right? In other words, you have two scenarios according to Rashi. According to Rashi, either his job is something that has to do with women, and therefore, or we could be talking about if a guy snuck in and the others don't know, but if the others know, it's fine. However, according to the Rambam, the way they write it, it's mashma that even if they know, the other women know. So therefore, it's tzorich limas mashikosa. We have to say like we wrote, which is what that the Tainu la Rambam. Yeah. Why? Because the Rambam he's not matir one person with a lot of women. So according to the Rambam, it's that way. It's that the Rambam doesn't allow it. Rashi, so in other words, it works. What's the problem according to the Rambam? Very simple. According to the Rambam, one man with a bunch of women, no good. That's the problem. But how about the Rashi that allows it? So Rashi that allows it, there's other problems. Either we're talking about the guy his job has to do with
works
women,
with them,
right? Or alternatively, we're talking about that he snuck in, they don't know he's there.
So that's the Bach, basically. So he's saying the Bach is saying on Rashi.
Yeah. Yeah, he's saying that.
He also holds like Rashi. So how does he?
What the Bach is saying has to be according to Rashi.
Right.
Right.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem. So it must be this is
Right.
more of a private space, and this guy's slipping in.
Yeah. The harbi prutzim imnoshim harbi, and now how about the a lot of loose men with a lot of women? So the chelkas mechekik that we just talked before writes that maybe that's not allowed. So according to the chelkas mechekik, you have to say that this sif is not talking about prutzim. Otherwise, why would he ask that question? Why would he ask the question? Well, hang on a second. How about if the men are prutzim? That means we're assuming that stamazay we're talking about the men are not prutzim. And this that the Meshi Isilis Ramah did not he didn't say anything about this mishum because it's close to, because if you remember in the last Seif, the Ramah already said his piece, and he said enough there that he didn't feel the need to go into it further in this Seif, right? Because what did he say? Because he already said that there's an opinion that right. So he already clarified. He doesn't even need Nashim Harbe and Harbe. He doesn't need 3. He needs, by him, 2 is fine. Well, or he said or possibly 3, depending. Some people say 3. No, he didn't. He just said in the day and in the city 2, and at night in the field 3. And he already said also, so he already said what he feels. He already said that one man with a lot of women is not a problem as long as his job is not something to do with women. So that's why the Ramah didn't comment on this, he's saying. Because the Ramah already commented on all of this already in the last Seif, and therefore he did not feel the need to comment further on this. Zayin. Afilu isha askim alachtim anoshim. Even, and this is the thing. This is according to Rambam. That's why afilu isha iskim alachtim anoshim. Even somebody whose work, right, and whose job and work is with women, also leili siachadim anoshim. He's not allowed to be secluded with women. Keitzad yaseh. Well, so what should he do? He needs to give a checkup, right? Yasev Yisasik Imoim v'ishtay imay. So he should do it. He should have his wife work with him. And his wife is there. Or he should quit and find different work. Sari, Go become a brain surgeon. Go to do a different residency.
There you
Something like this.
go.
Which this obviously goes according to the Rambam, right? Because he says afilu ish,
Right.
even somebody whose work is with women. So that goes according to the Rambam that holds it's better than even a regular person. Zayin in the Mechalkes Mechekik afilu ish is to nachtim anoshim. Loshna Rambam sham. This is the wording. This is the words of the Rambam. V'nimshach achad Rabbeinu Chananel. It goes after the opinion of Rabbeinu Chananel. Huva birash kiddushin perigdal. It's which the Rosh brings it down. The be'asaki imanoshim hayaroi lahater tfei. That meaning, why does he say afilu even such a person? Because such a person, according to the Rambam, there's more of a reason that maybe it should be permissible, and therefore he says even such a person, which so goes without saying. Somebody who not so is even for sure there's a problem. Avladas Rashi. So he's telling us again. He's reiterating that the Das Rashi, however, Kvar Nizbar Lifneza, we already explained the ish echad im shloisha nashim shadi, that even though one man with three women is usually allowed, when his work is with women, also it's not allowed. The fee shall that what love and gospel?
Lefi Shaliban, yeah, Shaliban
Oh,
Gospel.
Liban, his heart, right?
Yeah, Liban Gospel.
Liban gospel. Yeah. And what's mechafes? Like they
Sounds familiar. Excuse me. He's innocent. He's pure.
innocent. No, they're innocent. Meaning, I think that they don't suspect him. They're less suspecting. It's it's like the
So he has an air of innocence upon him, like he.
yeah. Meaning because he works, they trust. Meaning they trust him, right? Like when you have like a race, whatever it is, when you have obviously any sort of situation, right? When somebody's is harassing is not a good situation, but you know how it's worse when it's like either whatever in our world, or if it's a rabbi in the rest of the world, if it's a bishop or something like that, how it's like it's much worse in a way
Right.
because there's a certain trust that people have.
Right. So it's a betrayal of that trust. I hear you
Yeah,
say.
so it makes it so it's the same sort of thing where, but what's the thing also is it's because it's easier for him to take advantage because he's because it's trustworthy. Isha shabayla ba'ir ein cheshem misyach lima, a woman whose husband is in the city. It's not a problem. We don't worry about secluding with her mipnei she'imas bayla olah, because the fear of her husband is upon her. Ve'im haya ze gasbo kigoin shegadla imay. Right, the gasbo means basically it means like wide, and what do you call it? But it means if she has an affinity towards this person, right? Like
Makes
like
sense.
how kigoin shegadla imay, like she grew up with him. Or she's a relative. Is a relative. She's his relative.
Husband.
Or her husband was jealous of her, meaning he told her don't be with this man, right? So in such a case, right? So you have a few. So the cases of either liba gasba, right? That that it's there's a closeness, there's a certain sense of closeness, right? Like she grew up with him, or a relative or something. So then it's a problem. Then it doesn't make a difference if her husband's in the city, or alternatively, if her husband is told not to be with this man. Then Ches Chelkat Sivkot Yud Beis Chelkas Mechekik Ish Be'ir Cheshin Ein Rash Dush Daf Pe Aleph Amud Aleph. With Taisus, I'm telling you, we're gonna have to go through that. That we should do like that whole one sugya in the Gemara with all the Rashi very nicely. I am Rashi Dush Daf Pe Aleph Amud Aleph. With Taisus with a Masla Ba'ala Be'ir Ein V'chulu Masha Nechlaku Im Afilu L'Chatchila Shari. A dafke b'di avd vayim bach, right? So the Rashi and Tosfos have a machlekes, they have an argument on what when we say that a woman whose husband is in the city. So we talk about lichatchila, it's okay then, or is it just b'di avd? Perhaps meaning just that she wouldn't get malchus or something like this, but the lichatchila you don't do it. So that's a machlekes. Yud Beis in the Beis Shmuel. Isha Shabayla Be'ir in Cheshishin Hainu Keshitas Taisvis. So he explains this is like Taisvis. So Taisvis is the one that says it's okay. Rashi says no, only b'diavad, right? He says here the Hainu Keshitas Taisvis the Leika Isur. There's no Isur. It's okay. It's fine. Well, the Rashi Osur ve'ein loikin. So that's what he means by b'diavad. But the everything means that, in other words, it's not allowed. It's not you're not allowed to even if her husband's in the city, you're not allowed to be miyach with her. But he does not get the malchus in such a case. Bayis she paslu bayis she pesvei pasuach, a house which its open l'rishus harabim. Now, this is specifically to a public domain. There's no, don't worry about being about yichud in this place. Now, remember, this is not talking about an apartment building that the apartment door is open to a little, what's it called? It's talking about the door is open to a reshus harabim. So then, because there's a lot of passerby, then you're not worried about yichud. I believe the halacha that's only in a day, by the way. But doesn't say that here though. Test in the Chalkas Mechekik Sivkot Yud Gimel Bayis Shepis Pasuach L'Rishus Rabim Nira de Hochinami Begasba or Bekinela Asur. So the Chalkas Mechekik says it would seem that similarly to Baila Be'ir, this does not include somebody who they feel closeness to, or somebody that her husband warned her about not to be alone with. Which is interesting. I believe I believe the halacha is like the Chalkas Mechekik here, because if I remember from the Yichud Yichud pamphlet by Dubov, if I recall right, Pesach Basuach L'Rishus Harabim, he mentions there, unless there's a sense of closeness between the people, and then Pesach Basuach L'Rishus Harabim doesn't even work. Something like that. I have to look it up though. Don't quote me on that. Like we have in the disclaimer, do not use any of this for practical purposes. Because I would have to look that up before I say for sure. But in either case, so according to the Chalkas Mechekik, at least for sure, he holds that in the case of Gazba, right, that he's a cousin, he grew up with her, anything like this, or he warned her, it's no good. Beis Shmuel Yud Gimel, A house with its door is open to the public domain is not a problem. However, if he told her, don't be with this man, then it's also. And then he says also, who hadin im gas ba'asr. This is also the case if he has a feeling of closeness with her. Okay, I think this is a good spot, yeah? We're up to Yud. And we have basically 2 pages to finish this siman. And then the next siman is another 2 pages. So we might be able to even finish Chav Beis and Chav Gimel in our next Chav Gimel. So we do Chav Beis and Chav Gimel, right? Not Chav Daled. We can do Chav Daled, so it's a short one. But... And then I think we go into Hilchos Kedushin. Yeah. Wait, you're muted.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Just wanted to look up quickly. I think I almost had it. Basically, I was looking up the phrase, the whole Liban Gaspa, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to see more about it. And it was funny, what came up? A whole country son Hilchos Yichud from Rav Oberlander.
Oh, right.
So he brings it up. It's just straight halacha. It's kuim anashim. Misha askos anashim. Asik l'siachad afilu im harbe nashim. Ba'atam nishum libay gas behen v'chulam machbes alov. So
right. So that's from this Chalkas Mechekik we just had.
So yeah. So he quotes here Mishnah Pei Beis Aleph. I'm assuming Mishnah in Maseches Kedushin Pei Beis Aleph. But Haman Pei Beis Amud Aleph is a long Mishnah. I don't see this line, but there is a yeah. There is, I mean, the Gemara starts off with the chalal. Anyone who has professional dealings with women, soireira, his practice is bad. You should just keep away from him. So, what are all these things? These are smiths, carters, fixers of hand mills for women, peddlers of jewelry and perfume, weavers, barbers, launderers, bloodletters, bathhouse attendants, and the tanner. And you can't appoint any of those people for professions, king or a kohen gadol. Why? It's not because they're disqualified. It's not my time. They're not puzzle, but mishum dezil umanasayu. They're demeaning. They would not be respected if they were appointed to such a position. So that's what the Gemara says. But
right,
now back to the thing.
Because tanners smell bad.
Right, that's the whole smell bad. I'm just trying to find in the Mishnah. I'm not seeing. I don't know why he quotes. I think the concept he's saying comes from the Mishnah, in that Mishnah, but I think that line might come from like Rashi and Gemara. Those are. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's very interesting. The Gemara says in the same context, it's an interesting line. You shouldn't teach your son such professions.
Right. So the question is, so who's doing these professions then?
Okay, someone has to do it. But nowadays, by the way, I think there's less of an excuse. You'd be like, excuse me, Someone else can do that. You know, it used to be all the gynecologists were men. Now, even when there were women who were doctors, there were still mostly men who did it. Now it's pretty much all women. My sister-in-law is an OBGYN. It's pretty much all women. It's rare that there's a man. Like, and you see it generationally. Like her boss, the head of the department, is a man. But all the people she works with, women. All the doctors she's with, like,
because in general, even not Jewish women are often going to feel
right. Like, and even now, when there is a man,
they're going to feel more
always someone else
comfortable
in the room.
with
There's always a shamer in the room, usually, or a female nurse or someone in the room. It's a whole thing now.
right.
So,
Right, yeah.
so yeah, so Rashi,
no, Bechlal, even or there's a female attendant, but a lot of times it's also just women are now more
so
stuff more comfortable with a woman than a man.
It's from Rashi. Lo yislach yislachim nashim. Afilu harbe nashim lefi shalibay gazbahu chulon machlis alav. Ilu ish achrina bein shtei nashim tanan. We learned earlier. Daf pei amid base.
Yeah.
Shalish ay arba shaper dami. That's better. So, this line of Shaliba gas by whatever, I think you translated it fine. It's interesting. It seems like an interesting. I'm still not sure. Like, how did you translate again?
Well, literally, it means like his heart is wide in him, but it's like gas. It's like but it means, but the way I translated it was that
machbes, by the way, also can mean bedspread.
A person who she has a particular closeness to.
Well, so that's what I'm saying. Machbes also could be translated as like a bedspread, a blanket, a cover. So you could also translate it as basically because his heart is open, it's wide, meaning it's open. They're very open to him. And so Chulon Machbes love, meaning they all cover him, meaning they all come to him. They all flock to him. They're all comfortable with him.
Right. So that's in terms of the guy who works with women. Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Him you can talk to.
He's familiar, basically. It's a way of describing familiarity. Like, oh yeah, it's very easy
also
to
means,
talk to.
But it's also the same problem. Like that's why there's the same problems with a cousin.
Right.
Because a cousin, it's my cousin. Right, there's no barrier. There's no right. No, or alternatively, somebody who she grew up with when she was a little kid. Hey, no, I grew up with him. Don't worry. No, I'm worried. I'm even more worried than I was until now.
I had friends I grew up with, and yes, you should be very worried about me being around. And I am extra careful around such people. There's you got to be. It's interesting. It's one of the things, when we're talking about Rabbanos, I want to see that removed, that women, men, especially women, but also men also, that they feel more comfortable talking to their Rav. But it is interesting to note that for example, with regarding to this, most of these ladies who are uncomfortable talking to their Rav, then there'd be less of a concern of yichud. They come to ask a shayla. But ideally, what I'm saying is, I think that no, there should be a problem. A Rav should realize there should be a problem, meaning ladies should feel comfortable.
I'll tell you how it is basically. So the question is, the guy that she grew up with, is it better or worse? Is it worse because she's already comfortable with him, so it can lead more, or is it better because you say, but she doesn't see him that way? So what's the answer? It depends. Rashi or Rambam. So according to Rashi, no, there's more of a feeling of affinity there. According to the Rambam, the other way around. They don't see each other that way. That's the Rashi Rambam.
But again, I think that it comes back to, I think there's more. I think, but actually, it's not that machlekes, because what you're saying is she doesn't see him that way, but that's on her. We're not even talking about that, because what we're talking about is him. The thing that guards him is how he views them and how he's feeling around them. This discussion isn't so much about how she views him. This has been more about
the wording seems to imply that it's more so, or at that point that it has to do with
right. Maybe that's the machlekes. Maybe that's the crux of the machlekes. One is saying, I don't care how she feels about him. I'm only concerned about how he feels about her. And the other is
Right.
saying, no, it matters how she feels about him. If she views him as like that's my doctor, I would never, oh, that's gross. Like,
Yeah.
or that's my cousin, like, oh, that's my best
Right.
friend. Like he's like a
Right.
brother to me. No way. Like, the classic friend zone. Why can't I meet a guy who just looks like you, talks like you, treats me like you? There's me. No, but not you, not you.
Right.
I'm right here. No, sorry, no,
Right.
I just want someone who just like you. But if you had a twin brother, excuse me.
Like,
But yeah. All right.
yeah, fine. Good. All right. So yeah,
Yes,
we have another blot to finish Chav base, and then Chav Gimel is also a blot.
yeah. So
And
tomorrow, your
then we
timing,
can
you said.
go into Kedushin. So tomorrow in the morning I'm driving, but anytime not in the morning. If you happen to have any time open up, we'll jump on.
Okay. Like